Hello, it's Film Frenzy, and I just want to start by saying I'm so sorry for the long absence. I know it's been a while, but I hope you guys are all safe, healthy, and family, along with your families. I know this is a pretty crazy time, so I wanted to dedicate this video to the time of quarantine where we're stuck inside, no movie theaters, doing a whole lot of streaming, and the biggest streaming service is arguably Netflix. And since it's such a dour, sad time, I thought, let's just find the 10 most inspirational or feel-good films on Netflix. I wanted to pull from a variety of genres, different styles of films, so you'll get ones that are a little bit darker and more just like the inspirational type, and then also the just more lighthearted feel-good movies that just make you happy to watch. Either way, they'll leave you with a smile or just feeling a bit more empowered and a positive response during just such a difficult time. So I hope you enjoy this list. So I'm going to start things right off with Miracle, which is a sports drama that documents the experience of the 1980 United States Olympic hockey team and their really incredible win over Russia during the height of the Cold War. And it's a really just triumphant film that, no, it doesn't reinvent the wheel of sports dramas or anything and those inspiring tales, but it'll leave you with a smile on your face and just feeling a little bit better about yourself and humanity as a whole. I think it's a really just positive, powerful movie, and Kurt Russell's performance is also just phenomenal, super moving. Moving on, I'd like to talk about Hitch, which is probably the most feel-good movie on this list in terms of just lighthearted. It doesn't get too dark or anything, and it's Will Smith at the height of his career, where he was just doing a just great job as a leading man. He always is. He really just has that leading star charisma and just pulls off a great performance along with a great supporting cast and a really fun romantic comedy that I think goes in some really sometimes unexpected places, and it's just a really sweet film. It's always hilarious, the drama hits well, and overall it's just a really solid film, one of the 21st century's best romantic comedies. The next two movies I would like to talk about are two Best Picture winners that have gone slightly forgotten, unfortunately, and most people say they shouldn't have won the year that they did win, and I agree with that, but I think these are two great films in their own right that are really powerful stories. The first is The King's Speech, which won in 2010, and Colin Firth gives a riveting performance as the future King of England as he has to deliver these super important speeches as England soon declares war on Germany during the start of World War II. It's a huge time in the history of just mankind in general, and it's a really just inspirational tale of how this one man can make such a difference and overcome the greatest obstacles that he's facing. Another film I'd like to talk about is Drive Miss Daisy, which won the Best Picture Oscar in 1989, and it is a really just phenomenal film that deals with race complications, just aging, and is one of the great epics that I feel just doesn't get enough notice. It's one of those films that chronicles a long period of people's lifetimes, and it goes through different stages, and I think it's an incredibly well-paced film that's very moving. It goes to some very dark places, but I think it does a really good job dealing with the deep south of this kind of racist old Jewish woman and her cab driver, who's an African-American man, played by Morgan Freeman in his breakout role. He does a great job. Jessica Tandy, as the old woman, does a great job. Dan Aykroyd, who plays Jessica Tandy's character's son, another phenomenal performance. This movie will probably leave you a bit in tears at the end of it, but I think it's a pretty inspirational tale. And in terms of the classic movies that you always see about two people overcoming their differences, often they deal with racism and stuff, for example Green Book, I think this movie does the best out of all of them, so really recommend this one. So I'll admit that there's a lot of my bias in this list, in that these next 6 films are some of my favorites of all time, a few of which are actually in my top 10 movies of all time. But starting that out, we got As Good As It Gets, which is a really phenomenal movie with Helen Hunt and Jack Nicholson, one of my favorite romantic comedies of all time, by far. And I'm a sucker for tales of the main character who is not the best person and learns to grow and become a better man or a better woman. And in that case, it's Jack Nicholson, who plays this really interesting character with OCD, and it follows him as he goes on this romantic journey and eventually falls in love with Helen Hunt's character. Greg Kinnear also does a great job in a very different type of supporting role for him, and the overall romance and chemistry between Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt, who actually both won for lead actor and lead actress respectively, which is really rare feat for a film. They are just really moving, and just following Jack Nicholson's journey is very inspiring. It is definitely a very intense movie, and not the easiest one to watch at times, but I think that it is a very moving tale, and it's inspirational and also at times very feel-good, so it kind of like blends the two types of movies I have on this list, I think, perfectly. If you haven't seen this classic movie yet, highly recommend. There's a good chance you guys have seen this next movie, and yeah, I tried to keep most of these movies where I didn't want them to be as known, but what happened was I was going through the most inspirational ones, the most feel-good movies, and lots of them just happen to be super famous movies, so I'm sorry about that, but if you haven't seen any of these, of course, go watch them right away, and if you haven't seen them in a while, give them another chance. They're very rewatchable in my opinion, especially this next one, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is one of the greats in terms of high school movies. Matthew Broderick delivers a career-making turn as Ferris Bueller, and this movie is super feel-good. It's just such an energetic movie to watch. It's so fun. As a little kid, and to this day, I've watched this movie countless times. It's insanely rewatchable. Definitely the perfect type of movie you'd want to watch during quarantine, but also delivers a very emotional tale around the character of Cameron, and it is just a really great coming-of-age movie in terms of just coming into your own and stuff, and during a really important time in life in high school, it is one of the most legendary movies in terms of just day off, quotable lines, memorable scenes. I mean, twist and shout on the parade float going through Chicago, running through the backyards of neighbors trying to make it back home, breaking the fourth wall, the beginning and end of the movie. This movie has it all. Great comedy, great drama, great acting, great direction. It's a classic. This next film is another Will Smith one. I did not plan on there being two Will Smith movies, but what can I say? He just does a great job with the inspirational and feel-good tales. This one's my favorite Will Smith one, Pursuit of Happiness, which is a lot more of a drama than, of course, Hitch is. This is not a romantic comedy. This is not a comedy at all. And it's a very dark and sad movie at times, but it is triumphant in the greatest degree. Him and Jaden Smith, who plays his son in the film, just do such a great job. You can tell like the father-son chemistry is just so authentic and really touching and moving. This is definitely a bit of a tearjerker movie, but it is super impactful, and there's some scenes that really will just stick in your brain, and especially now dealing with these financial hardships, I know maybe this film could be a bit on the nose, but he deals with poverty throughout the movie and just making it out on top. It's just such a tale where you're just rooting for the lead character the entire time, and this is watch him like succeed. This is based on a true story actually. It's just so moving and empowering. Hopefully that provides a bit of faith and just strength during these tough times as well. I'm going back to the romance movies on this one, and this one's a bit less of a comedy, but definitely has its good funny moments. Jerry Maguire, which is one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies. Renee Zellweger is great. Cuba Gooding Jr. is excellent in this one. And it's insanely well acted, well scripted, well directed. It is really just a fine film, and I found it one of the most moving movies I've ever seen. It will definitely lead you into some darker places than most romantic comedies. This isn't as much like Hitch in terms of just a lighter fare, but I think that it is just super memorable, and its messages and themes on just like the heart and the passion are very needed during these times. And just watching Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character as he like at the final football game, I'm not going to spoil it or anything. It's super, super inspiring. And then there's also the fun moments like Show Me the Money. And then there's the tearjerker romantic moments like You Had Me at Hello. Again, an extremely quotable and memorable movie. There's a reason Jerry Maguire is the film you see in like all subsequent movies when there's like a sad breakup and they're crying and they're watching it and they're saying how beautiful it is, because it is a beautiful romance movie. And you know what? Romance is always a great thing. We need love during these times, so I hope you guys watch this one and enjoy it. Now we've reached my final two films, and this first one is arguably the darkest movie on this list. It is definitely not a feel-good, but I think it's insanely inspirational, and that is Shawshank Redemption. Widely regarded as one of the best movies of all time, Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman star and deliver just insane performances with great chemistry. Their bond is just remarkable. I mean, this is a prison movie, so obviously it's gonna lead to dark places. It's very violent and cruel and intense at times, and the movie starts out with just such an unjust feeling in you that it's really intense. It might be hard to get through, but as you go through and just see the triumphant journey, it is really remarkable. And I know I'm retreading myself with lots of these films, talking about a triumphant journey and stuff, but that's what the best inspirational tales are like, and I think this one offers probably arguably the best inspirational movie ever, in my opinion at least. There's some really memorable scenes again. I mean, that one where he's playing the music, of course. There's just so many other ones. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but this is a movie that has you on the edge of your seat, so if you want a bit more of a thrilling movie that is still inspirational, this is the one. So now I've reached my final film, and this is just a really special movie for me. I've seen it countless times, and I'm so glad that's on Netflix. Groundhog Day, starring Bill Murray. Oh my gosh, this movie is just amazing. Going back to the romantic comedies, it's a bit lighter, but it deals with some very serious stuff, and I think its themes are, again, on more of just overall life and just appreciating the day. I mean, it's the classic tale of reliving the same day over and over again. This is Groundhog Day. I've seen lots of people compare Quarantine to Groundhog Day and how it's like the same day and the monotony over and over again. So I feel like, again, this is a very fitting movie for this time in regards to just finding the new and finding the exciting. This is a character, like I said before, with Jack Nicholson, as good as it gets, follows a man who starts off the movie as a pretty crappy guy, to be honest, and by the end he really just improves himself and sees the light in him, and that's greatly helped through just the phenomenal romance that's built into it. It's a very unique romantic comedy that's very well crafted, finally done, and I think overall it has some of the most just inspiring and moving moments in any movie I've ever seen. There's so many scenes I could recommend, plus it's really hilarious too. All the jokes land completely, in my opinion. It's a pretty tame movie. It's PG, so I think the whole family can get together for this one, and maybe it'll just leave them feeling a bit more inspired and feeling good too, and just seeing the light in this dark time and just taking efforts to, again, improve yourself, because this is a perfect time for self-improvement, and I think some of these movies really offer that chance. I hope you enjoyed this list and check out these movies. If you want to know about any other ones that I'd recommend, comment down below and I'll be happy to give some more suggestions. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys stay safe and happy and well during this tough time. Same with your families. So, I'll see you guys later. This is Film Frenzy signing off. Goodbye.